Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you. Welcome to our Taleem public address on behalf of masjidwdm and Masjid Al-Quran. We welcome you to our fourth Sunday, which is El Mizan, our Balance Sunday, where we have Sister Nadirah Habeebullah. She will be teaching us today and sharing her knowledge. We welcome you. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Nadirah.
Hey, walaikum assalam. So I am happy to be here with you guys and to be talking about the topic of building healthy relationships. So this is something that I do. So I'm in Kansas City, Missouri. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. So I work with couples, I work with individuals, I work with families, children, all types of different people on helping to improve their overall functioning and their views of themselves and their views of the world and how they function in the world. And so always in my personal and my professional life, the topic of improving our relationships always comes up. And it's something that we can't really get away from because, everybody exists within the context of relationships. Every single person does. And, sometimes we may try to act like, oh, I'm a loner. I do my own thing, or I don't need anybody. It's just, it's just me, myself, and I. That's not true. That's not true. We all have relationships. We all need relationships to thrive. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I want to, so I'm going to share my screen. And I have a PowerPoint, so I'm not sure, when I share this screen, can you still see me? Because I can't see.
Yes, we can see you.
Okay, so I couldn't tell at all. All I can see
right now?
Can you see the screen that I'm sharing? I have a slide. It says the ties that bind, building healthy relationships. Can you all see that?
Yes, ma'am, we can see it.
Okay, so then we're good to go. Okay, so that's what we're talking about, building healthy relationships. And so relationships are the vessels through which we come to know ourselves. They are the source of soothing, or a source of soothing and mercy for us. And so this is something that is important for every single person because we all need soothing and mercy. We can't make it through life without it. And so this is important, not just because I say it's important, or because some TV guru who does relationships says it's important, or even because the American Psychology Association says it's important. It's not because of that. It's because of how Allah has made us and the nature that He has put in us, right? So as Muslims, we always want to do things that are going to keep us intact with our nature and lead us toward the nature that Allah has put in us. And for sure, keeping intact with our relationships and having nurturing relationships, that is going to keep us in line with the nature that Allah wants for us. Because if we just look at how we enter and exit the life, like when we come into this world, when that baby is born, it goes from being inside the womb. It's so warm, it's so nice. It has every single thing that it could ever need. And all it really knows is the sound of that mother's voice that it's been hearing over the last 9 months. And it knows the vibration of that heartbeat that it's gotten used to. And so when that baby is born and it is forced out and it's all of a sudden it has to go through this pain and there's all these lights and people are poking and prodding, this baby doesn't know what's going on. That's a traumatic experience for the mom and for the baby. And so the first thing you do with a newborn baby is what? You place that baby on the mother's chest, because that's who the baby has a relationship with. That's who the baby is already connected to. And so that lets the baby know, oh, okay, even though I don't know what just happened, even though I'm in this new place, I hear this voice that I know. I feel this heartbeat that I'm used to. And so I know that I'm safe. I know that I'm okay, because they have immediately been connected to the person that they already had the relationship with. Or if you look at, the way we handle funerals as Muslims is very different than how the average American funeral would look. When a person passes and it's time for them to be buried. Who does that? The family does it. The community does it. We're the ones washing the body. We're the ones preparing the body. When we get to the grave, we are the ones who actually lower the body down into it. We are the ones who put the dirt on top of it. Why? Because that's most soothing for the person who has passed, because they are being cared for. They are being returned to the earth by the people that they love. So it's not, we don't just stand back and say, okay, bring in the bulldozer or bring in whatever machine. We actually do it because we know that we come into the world through nurturing relationships and we leave the world through nurturing relationships. And so if we start our life that way, and if we end our life that way, then it would only make sense that we also live the middle section of our life that way too. And so that's why it's so important that we make sure we have good, healthy relationships. So when it comes to nurturing relationships, because this is something that Allah wants us to have and wants us to strive for, of course, there's going to be so much good that is in it. So there's so many tons of different studies that have been done that show the health benefits, physical and mental health benefits of being in healthy relationships. And when I say healthy relationships, I'm not just talking about romantic relationships, marital relationships, even though that's included. I'm talking about that, but also just any type of relationship. This can include friendships. This includes relationships with your children. This includes relationships with your parents, with your siblings, with your neighbors. There really is no limit to it. The more healthy relationships you have with different people, the better it is going to be on you. So healthy relationships, they reduce the effects of stress on us. Now, they don't necessarily reduce the amount of stress. You can still have tons of stress from work, from job, from illness, or whatever it is. But just being surrounded by people that you are connected to and that you can talk to, that you can exchange with, that helps to reduce the effect of the stress on your body. Also reduces the chance of depression. When people don't have healthy relationships, they're far more likely to experience serious depression that may need medication or that may seriously impact their life. It increases a general sense of life satisfaction. So in all types of studies where they have talked to people and say, well, how happy are you with your life? And it is shown over and over that the people who generally say, I like my life, it feels good, I'm happy with it, there are many different factors that come up, but always, always, always is the fact that these people are tied to other people that they feel safe with, that they like to spend time with, and they have healthy relationships. Also, it increases our immune system. We're much less likely to get sick. If we are sick, we will heal faster. There have been studies that have shown that even people who had different types of surgeries, when they went home, when they were able to go home and continue their healing journey at home, the people who were surrounded by people that they love and they had healthy connections to, their body literally healed faster than those who were able to go home and either were by themselves or surrounded by people that they had a lot of tension with, didn't get along with. So it improves our healing. It slows the cognitive decline as we age. So as we get older, there are certain things that just on our bodies are not going to work exactly the same way. But those who still have access to lots of different people, you're able to talk, you're able to have grandchildren, you're able to have just different friends and just spend time with different people, that preserves the functioning of the mind. I found in women, decreased risk of cardiovascular disease. So women who are in healthy relationships, surrounded by people that they like, that they love, that they can talk to, that they can be vulnerable with, they're less likely to develop heart disease. And so I think that's just so telling. Like, you're less likely to have a diseased heart when you're surrounded by people that you love. So there's so many different benefits to having nurturing relationships. And so when it comes to the how do we have healthy relationships? There are lots of different ways that people can describe it, but I've broken it up into these 5 different building blocks of healthy relationships. And so you see, we have love and affection, we have consistent quality interaction, clear boundaries and expectations, ability to adapt, and physical and emotional safety. And for the most part, these are all really important, and they're all interchangeable as far as the top 4 on that top row. So you could put, any one in front of the other, and we couldn't really say that one is any more important than the other, except physical and emotional safety. And that's why I have that one separated on its own, is at the bottom, because really everything else has to be built on top of that. We have to start with physical and emotional safety. If we don't have that, then none of the other 4 matter. So that's our starting place for having a healthy relationship. So physical and emotional safety. So now most people, for the most part, physical safety, okay, that's pretty simple. We don't have to explain that very much. I do not intentionally harm, and I do know no intentional harm is done to me. In general, that's a super low bar to set. Most people are not going to physically harm anybody else, and they're not concerned about anyone else physically harming them. So, okay, that's a low bar to set. But after we have that one block in place, then we move up to emotional safety. This one's a little harder because some people aren't even aware of it, aren't even aware that it's a thing. They don't always know how to create it. So emotional safety means that we are able to express how we feel with each other, even when that feeling may be difficult for one to express and difficult for the other to hear. So that means, of course, you can say the simple things, oh, I love you, I'm having a great time, yeah, all that sorts of thing. But you can also say, I'm feeling kind of sad or neglected. I feel like you've been spending, more time away, or I'm feeling like you don't take me seriously, or I'm feeling like you don't value my opinion, or something else that may be harder to say and harder for that other person to hear. In an emotionally safe relationship, we are able to say those things. And you see, I have in parentheses, no fear of the four horsemen, John and Julie Gottman. So you may have heard of John and Julie Gottman before. They're very big. They're researchers. They're also therapists, clinicians in the marital relationship counseling space. They've written countless books, and they've been on all types of TV shows. And so you've probably heard of them, and they have done tons and tons of research. So they have something that's called the Love Lab, where they invite couples to stay in, it's an apartment where they put all these different cameras, and they have cameras pretty much everywhere except like the bathroom and the bedroom. And they ask the people to just, live your life for a day and allow us to record your interactions so we can kind of see, hey, what do their interactions look like? What are they doing on a day-to-day basis? And so after doing this over years with thousands and thousands of couples, and then also following up with them, so after they leave that space, however many months later or years later, they will follow up and say, hey, you guys still together? You still doing well? Everything's okay? And through all that feedback that they've gotten, they have been able to pinpoint certain things that healthy, successful couples do, and certain things that couples who usually end up breaking up do. And so there are a lot of different ones, but I have on here the four horsemen, which are 4 different negative characteristics that they have been able to identify that really destroy relationships. And so we're going to look at those a little bit later. So the next one I have is love and affection. So after we have our physical and emotional safety established, then also we need to have love and affection. So what is that? What does that look like? Love and affection is not just saying, oh, I love you, and giving hugs and kisses and things like that. Love is a verb. It is something that we actually do. And so for my definition, so this isn't the same one that you'll find in a dictionary or anything like that, but the definition that I'm giving to love is the ability and the choice to center another person's needs and feelings in your actions. And so if you think about it, that's really what we do when we have someone that we love. If it's a child, if it's a spouse, if it's a parent, or anything like that, when we are doing any type of action that we know will affect this other person, or even possibly affect this other person, we always stop and see, okay, hold on, how is this going to affect their feelings? How is this going to interact with their needs? Is this going to help to meet the need that they have, or is this going to ignore the need that they have? So if we truly love someone, sure, we can say I love you, that's a great thing, but are we also choosing repeatedly in our choices to think of that person's needs and to think of their feelings? Also, affection. So what is affection? Affection is showing love and appreciation in a way that the other prefers to receive it and that the other can receive it. So a lot of people have heard of the love languages, the 5 love languages. It's a super popular book, and there have been tons of articles written on it. And basically, the idea of love languages is that we all want to receive love. We all want to give love. But for each person, there is a certain way or certain ways that we prefer to receive it, or ways that it feels best, it feels realist for us. And so those different topics, according to the author of the love languages, are touch, quality time, words of affirmation, gift giving, and acts of service. So it's important to be able, whenever you're in a relationship with another person, this could be your child, this could be your parent, this could be your spouse, whoever, you want to check and see the way that I am showing love to this person. Is this the way that they want to receive love? Is this the way that feels the best for them? Because it could be that, oh, I show love by saying I love you every single day and giving a big hug and a kiss. And okay, that's great. But if the person's, if their love language is not touch, or their love language is not words of affirmation, it could be more acts of service, they may not feel as loved. So they may like what you're doing, that's good, but they may really prefer that you would actually, oh, it makes me feel so loved when you iron my pants and sit them out, or it makes me feel so loved when you do this thing for me, if acts of service is the one, or quality time. Oh, that's great when you say I love me, but really, I just love it when you sit and watch a movie with me. I just love it when you come and read this book with me, or when you go on a walk with me, or different things like that. So we want to make sure that when we are showing affection, we are doing things to display our love to those that we love. Are we doing it in the way that feels best to them, and not just the way that feels best to us? Also, in our love and affection, is there an absence of harshness? And it's, again, this brings us back to what I was saying about the four horsemen. And these are the four things that you don't want to see in a relationship, at least not repeatedly. Again, the Julie and John Gottman have found through all of their studies that couples who usually end up feeling happy, doing well, having a long-lasting relationship, they avoid these things, which are criticism, defensiveness, contempt, and stonewalling. So as long as we are able to avoid those things as much as possible, they may pop up here and there, but in general, if we avoid those, and if we are not having harshness in our relationships, that's going to help us to be healthier. So now we want to look a little closer at these four things. Now they call them the four horsemen of the apocalypse, just basically saying like these are really big and they show up in relationships that don't do very well. So what are they? The first one is criticism. So criticism is an attack on a person's personality or character rather than a focus on the behavior. So an example would be, let's say, for example, if you if before you went to bed, the other person, your partner, agreed, hey, I know the kitchen's a mess, I'm going to clean it up before I go to bed. And then you go ahead, you go to bed, and you wake up the next morning and you see that the kitchen is still a mess. And so you go to them and you're like, what's going on? You didn't clean up the kitchen. Oh, you are just so lazy. Like, I can't stand this. You don't do anything. This is a criticism. So rather than focusing on the actual issue, which is, hey, you said you're going to clean up the kitchen and you didn't, you're going into attacking their character, saying that they're lazy. That's not a good thing. That's always going to eat away at a relationship. Next one is defensiveness, taking things personally and defending yourself from a perceived attack. So I'm saying perceived attack because it may not even really be attack. It just may feel like an attack to you. The other person may have no intention of attacking you at all, but it's coming across as an attack. And because it's coming across that way, you feel the need to defend yourself. That often looks like avoiding accountability or shifting blame. So rather than holding yourself accountable for whatever it is the other person has brought to you, you shift it into something else or put it off on the other person. An example, if we're again using that the kitchen wasn't cleaned incident. So rather than saying like, okay, yeah, I just, I got sleepy and I didn't get it done, or whatever it is, taking accountability, a move of defensiveness would be to say something like, well, how do you expect me to clean up when you're always nagging me and I can't even get a break and this doesn't make any sense and you're just always, I can never do a thing. And so rather than focusing on the fact that I did agree to do this one thing and I didn't do it, you turn it into you're attacking me, you're coming to me, you're saying all these different things. And now it looks like the other person is bad and the focus is on how bad they are rather than the fact that you didn't do what you said you were going to do. The next one is contempt. And so you see, I have this one in red because this, of the four of them, this one is the worst. And, the other three, they can kind of pop up in relationships here and there, as long as it's not an everyday thing, as long as it's not the norm. It can happen here and there and it's not a big thing. But contempt is a really, really bad one that really eats away much faster at relationships. And so relationships that have contempt in them usually are just they're not going to last because it's so bad. And so contempt is treating the other person with disgust or as if they are beneath you. So just saying mean things or just throwing really low blows. And so an example of that, again, sticking with the kitchen not being clean, an example would be rolling your eyes and just saying, here we go again about this kitchen. Why don't you clean it up yourself? Because you're not good for anything else. And you clearly don't have a job. So you should just do it yourself. And you can see the difference in that. It's like literally taking a jab at a person, saying something that doesn't even really have to do with what you're talking about, but you're just saying something because you know it's going to be hurtful. You know it's like going to poke them and going to get them. So it's like having a mean intention. That's the worst of all. And so we absolutely do not want that in our relationships. And so if we ever find that we are having contempt or that we are being treating with contempt, that's a big sign of a problem. We really need to do things differently. The last one is stonewalling. And so this would be withdrawing physically or emotionally in response to a complaint or a rush of emotion that you are feeling. So an example would be, again, in response to the kitchen being dirty, just saying, I didn't feel like it. And then going in another room, putting on some headphones and just maybe listening to music and literally ignoring that other person for some hours or for the rest of the day. And they're trying to engage you and say, hey, well, can we talk about this? And you're like, I'm not hearing you. I'm in my music. I'm minding my own business. This is stonewalling, and it's not a good way of handling any type of relationship. And sometimes people do this because in the moment when they hear whatever the complaint is, they're feeling overwhelmed with emotion and they don't know how to handle it other than to just cut it off and not deal with it. So we want to avoid all four of those as much as we can in relationships. And so, like I said, with the other three, contempt is the worst one. The other three, they may come up here and there. No one's perfect. No one's always going to be in a good mood. If they do come up here and there, it is okay, as long as one, it's not the norm, it's rare. And two, as long as when you recognize that you've done this thing, you make an attempt to repair. So in any relationship, it's not the things that happen, the bad things that happen, we'll call that the rupture. It's not the rupture that ruins the relationship. It's the lack of repair. So there can be a rupture. Something can go wrong. You can say something that hurts their feelings. You can do something, betray their trust in some type of way. You can do these sorts of things, and that's bad. But is there a repair? Is there something that you have come in and that you have done to repair it and to make it better? When there is repair, and the rupture is okay because it's been repaired, it's been fixed. But when we don't have any efforts to repair, when we just keep having rupture after rupture after rupture and nothing's being fixed, there's no way that relationship is going to last because the whole thing is going to end up being destroyed. So the next part we want to look at is consistent quality interaction. So if we have this relationship with whoever it is and we want to be able to maintain it, how are we maintaining that? How are we maintaining this connection that we have? There's consistent quality interaction. So what does that mean? We're going to be spending time together doing things that you both enjoy. So it's not quality interaction if it's something that just one of you enjoys and the other one is half there, half on their phone, not paying attention, half feeling like, oh God, I hate this. I don't want to be here. This is not consistent quality interaction. It needs to be something that you both enjoy, something where you're able to make a good memory that you can carry with you. And then afterwards you can say, hey, remember that time we did that thing? Remember we cooked that cake and we put the icing on it and the icing splattered and it got on my face. Yeah. Anything you're doing where you can enjoy it, you can carry a memory with it. That's like helping to build up the foundation of the relationship. That's helping to make it stronger. Also, getting to know each other again and again. So anytime when a relationship is new, when you're first meeting someone, you're making efforts to get to know them. You're asking questions. You're having, you just have a level of curiosity because you kind of want to know, hey, I want to know what your life is like. I want to know what makes you think. I want to know what makes you tick. I want to know what you're thinking about this and about that. And so you're asking questions and you're getting to know each other. But over time, after we feel like, okay, I've been with you long enough, I know you well enough, sometimes we may get away from that and we may no longer have that curiosity about, hey, what do you think of this? Or, hey, what are you thinking? Or what's going on with you? We may just start to assume, well, I already know. I know if I say this, they're going to say this. I know if they do that, I do this and they're going to do, I already know. And we don't make the efforts to keep getting to know them over and over. But we have to do that because the relationship, whatever that relationship is, it's always changing because we're always changing. No person just stays the same over and over a period of time. You're constantly going to be growing and changing. The other person is growing and changing. Their ideas are growing and changing as they're being exposed to new information, as they're learning different things, as they're coming into different parts of their life and, different ages and stages and all types of things. We're constantly becoming new people. And so if we want to become new people together, and we want to do that as a pair or as a group, then we have to keep making efforts to get to know each other and not just make assumptions that, oh, I already know how this is going to go. I already know how you feel. No, you don't. Make an effort. Be curious. Look and see what's there. Also, seeking to insert softness into our interactions. This is always big and important because it can be very easy to not be soft with the people that we feel the most comfortable with and the people that we love the most. So, for example, in general, if someone is getting really upset with someone, it's most likely, if you're really, really upset, it's going to be someone that you already have a relationship with, someone that's important to you. So it's probably going to be your spouse or your mate. It's probably going to be your children. It's probably going to be your siblings, your parents, your cousins, your friends, somebody that is close to you, because it is because of that closeness that brings up that sensitivity. So even though we have that sensitivity and it's easier to get upset, we also have to always, always keep in mind that these are the most important people. Like, this is my group. This is my support system. These are the people that are here for me. These are the people who, when I need to call on someone, I'm going to be calling on them. So I need to be able to keep that in mind when I am interacting with them. Keep that in mind when I'm feeling tired, when I'm feeling upset, when I'm feeling triggered because such and such happened. Even though I have these feelings come up, I still need to be able to have some softness in this interaction so that the relationship can be preserved. Another thing that we want to look at for consistent quality interactions is no distractions. So this can be very hard to do because everyone has a phone. I got mine is right here. We all have phones, and lots of times you may be trying to, perhaps the other person is trying to talk to you, trying to have a serious conversation, trying to do something, and you're half listening, half on your phone, scrolling, reading, typing, responding, doing something. That takes away from the quality of the interaction. We don't want to just physically be in the room and say, okay, we're spending time together because I'm here, you're here, we're here. It's not about that. It's not about physically being in a room. It's about, am I tuned in and am I present to what's going on between us? Am I paying enough attention that I can recognize if something feels off, if it seems like you're kind of not okay? Am I even paying enough attention to notice that? Or if I'm not okay, but maybe I'm not really ready to share that yet, are you paying enough attention to notice that? Because maybe my look is different, or maybe my body language is a little different, or maybe I'm not giving you the eye contact that I would normally give. Are you paying enough attention to be able to notice, hey, you okay? Something seems different. Anything you want to discuss, but you got to be tuned in. You can't be half there, half on the phone. So we want to have no distractions. Also, making time for difficult discussions. So this is something that we always have to do. Of course, in any relationship, there are going to be things that come up that bring tension there, things that don't always feel good. And we can't just push these things under the rug or just kind of act like they're not there or avoid them because it feels difficult to discuss them. If we want to have healthy, clear relationship with no elephant in the room, no tension, no fog between us, then we got to be able to discuss the difficult things when they come up. So there are lots of different ways to do that. You can have scheduled check-ins where you can say, you know what, how about once a week we have a family meeting or something where we can just kind of sit and talk about anything that comes up, anything that needs to be discussed. This could be good, bad, indifferent, whatever. But let's schedule that once a week, once a month, or whatever. Or even an evening recap. And it doesn't have to be anything formal. It could just be at the end of the day. Hey, so how's your day been? How you going? How you doing? Just create an opportunity so that if there is something that needs to come up, this is something that needs to be expressed, we can do that in that moment, that time that we have already set aside. Also, we have here this 5-to-1 ratio. So what that means, so that comes again from the work of John Gottman, and they have found that couples who are healthy and who years down the line describe themselves as still being happy with each other, still like being in the marriage, they have a ratio of 5-to-1 for positive interactions to negative interactions. So that means for every one negative interaction that they have where they get into an argument, they have a disagreement or something goes wrong, and it can be big or small, for every one of those, there are 5 positive ones to kind of take the place of that or to cover it. So that seems like a lot. Some people may think, well, as long as it's like a 1-to-1 or a 2-to-1, it'll probably be good. But that's not 1-to-1 is definitely not it. But even a 2-to-1 or a 3-to-1 is not it. Usually couples who have that ratio of a 2-to-1. So for every one negative interaction, there are 2 positive interactions. That sounds like, okay, 2-to-1, that could be okay, but it's not enough. Those are couples who are more likely to either get divorced or just describe their relationship as unhappy or unfulfilling. So that just shows the importance of making it a point to be kind, to be positive, and to look for opportunities in that relationship to do something that is connecting with the two and do something that is bonding. And it doesn't have to be anything big. It just could be something small. Hey, you look nice today. I like that shirt that you have on. Or coming in and, giving somebody a high five. That can be a positive interaction. Or just, hey, I'm headed out the door. You want anything? Taking a chance to, taking the time to consider somebody and pick something up for them. These are positive interactions. So just always throughout our day, looking for ways to making sure we are increasing that ratio and we're having at least 5 or more than 5 interactions for every negative one, because the negative stuff is going to come up. We can't get rid of it and act like, oh, we'll just never not get along. We'll never have negative interactions. That's not realistic. We can't do that. So also, we want to be able to have clear boundaries and expectations. So that is something that is important, because a lot of times when we come into relationships, we don't always understand that we bring with us a certain set of expectations and a certain set of things that we just think, oh, okay, well, this is just common sense. Of course, the other person knows that they should do this and that they shouldn't do that. And the other person may come into the relationship with the same thought. Oh, okay, this is just common sense. Of course they know not to do that. And of course they know that they should do this. And of course, and you're assuming, and then you get together and then you find out that all the stuff that you were assuming and all the stuff the other person was assuming are not the same. And you find that out when what? There's an explosion because something happened and you're not seeing eye to eye. So we want to be able to discuss these things up front, have clear boundaries, clear expectations. So if you get to know a person's story of their experience, then you'll better understand their boundaries and their needs. So for example, if you're in a relationship with a person who maybe has a history of physical abuse, when they were younger, their parents used to beat them very badly, then you will understand how that person may not like so much a lot of physical touch. So let's say you may be a real, touchy person. You come up, hey man, what's up? You patting the arm, you're giving hugs. That might make them uncomfortable. And to you, it might look like, sheesh, what's the problem? I'm just giving you a hug. I'm just patting your back. I'm just doing these kind things that everybody should like. That's the assumption. But you don't know, it doesn't feel like that to them because of their previous experience. So when we take a chance to get to know, what is your story? What have your experiences been? What have you been through? Then when they put a boundary around a specific thing, or when they say, man, I really need you to do this or to not do that, then you can say, oh, okay, I get it. Okay, because of what you've been through, or because of what you haven't been through, this particular thing is important to you, or this particular thing feels uncomfortable to you and you don't like it. But we can't know that. We can't have that understanding without first knowing their story. Also, just asking, being straightforward. What is it that you need from me? And what does that look like? And then the same. And this is what I need from you. And this is what it looks like. So a lot of times we may get halfway there. We may start off with okay, what is it that you need from me? But we don't follow up with what does that look like? And the problem is that when you ask somebody, what is it that you need from me? And they answer, they may say, okay, well, I need security or something. In your mind, your idea of security may look very different from their idea of security. So if you don't add that second part on, what does that look like? Meaning, okay, if security is what you need, what would you be seeing from me? What would I be doing that would let you know you're secure? When you ask that, then you can ensure that the two of you are on the same page and you're making the meaning of security in the same way. Because what if you're thinking, oh, okay, this person said they need security. That means making sure I pay all the bills, making sure the lights don't get cut off. Okay, I'm doing that. So that's secure. I've done my job. That may not have been what they meant by security. They may have meant like, okay, that's great. I like that that's done. But I was thinking more so emotional security. Emotional security for me feels like knowing that when I do something that you don't like, you may not like it, but you're still not going to abandon me and leave me. And so I would know that because when you're upset at me, you might say whatever you're upset about, but you still say I love you and you still give me a hug or you still do this or that. So once you ask that, what does that look like? Then we can clear up any type of discrepancy about what the one party is thinking that means and what the other party is thinking it means. Also, no assumptions. I already kind of spoke about this. It can be very easy to assume that the way I think about things is the way to think about things, the one and only way. But that's not the truth. There can be tons of ways to think about things depending on what you've been taught, depending on your culture, depending on your values, your experiences. So we can't just assume that what I think is what everyone else thinks. And also, what I think is the one and only truth or the best way to think, because it may not be. So we always want to be able to state whatever it is that we would like with I statements and not you statements. So rather than assuming like, well, I like it when my birthday comes around. I like it when you give me a gift, and I know everybody knows that birthdays are a big deal, and you're just supposed to give gifts. So I'm not going to say anything. I just know that when that day rolls around, a gift is going to come, but then maybe it doesn't come, and then you get upset, and then you assume all of these different things. Oh, well, you must not care about me. I must not be that important. He doesn't like me that much. He must be doing something else because he didn't get me a gift. And anybody who cares about somebody would get a gift. These are all the assumptions. So rather than doing that, we just want to make it clear, make an I statement. I would like, my birthday is coming up. I would like for you to get me a gift. Not you need to know to get me a gift, or you didn't get me a gift, which means you don't know that. We don't know what it means. We just want to stick with whatever it is that we would like and make it clear to the other person. Also, honor your values, identify your emotions, and be assertive. So this is for a person who has trouble establishing boundaries, because maybe that just wasn't something that you learned to do, or maybe in your life because of whatever your upbringing has been. Maybe it just didn't really feel safe for you to have boundaries. Maybe you kind of had to have really lax boundaries just to kind of go and get along with whatever your home environment was. And now you're an adult and you're embarking on all these different relationships, and that is your norm to just kind of go with the flow and not really speak up for yourself and not have any type of boundaries and to let anybody do anything because you don't know anything else. So if that's something that you struggle with and you're wanting to have more boundaries, these are things that you can do. So honor your values. So for example, what is it that I value? What is really important to me? Let's say, for example, honesty. Okay, I really value honesty, and that is important to me. So in this relationship, I'm going to require that this other person is honest with me. So if you are being honest, if you're lying, if I catch you in a lie, I'm not going to just say, oh, well, okay, well, yeah, just maybe don't do it again. No, that's a big deal. That's a big thing, because you have gone against my values. You have done something that has been disrespectful for me, and it hurts me a lot. I need to be able to make that clear. Also, identify your emotions, and again, be assertive. So don't say, oh, well, maybe I just think, well, could possibly, because kind of, yeah. No, we want to stand up and say, this is what I need. This is what's going to work for me. I have at the bottom examples of things that are helpful in establishing good boundaries. So I don't like that. That does not work for me. I'm not prepared to make that decision yet. No, I can't do that. These are just short, clear statements that you can say to help create a boundary around something. And also avoiding passive aggressiveness. So again, this sometimes is a survival technique that people develop because of whatever their experiences have been or whatever they've been through. But once we grow up, we have to get away from or shed things that are not helping us. And passive aggressiveness doesn't help anybody. It really just makes things worse, because that's really a way, let's say someone comes in the house and they notice that you seem off, something's going on. And they say, hey, everything okay? You seem kind of upset. Nope, not me. I'm not upset. I'm fine. I'm great, actually. I'm fine. And it's like, okay, this is weird because you're saying one thing, but your whole body, your whole energy is communicating something else. And that's what passive aggressiveness is. And some people think, oh, it's not a big deal. But really, for one, it's dishonest. And two, it doesn't make it any easier to fix whatever's going on in the relationship. Because really, when we're being passive aggressive, what we're saying is, first, we're being dishonest and saying, no, there's not an issue. And two, we're saying, yes, there is an issue, but for whatever reason, I'm not prepared to discuss that yet. So I'm just going to give you this mixed answer. I'm just going to kind of say some things to make it look like I'm kind of have an issue, but I kind of don't. And I expect you to deal with it and answer it. That just doesn't make sense. So we want to avoid passive aggressiveness. And the next one is the ability to adapt. So nothing is ever going to be consistent. Nothing is ever going to change nothing's ever going to change. Nothing is ever going to not change. Things will always be changing over time. We change, the other person changes, circumstances changes, events change, all types of things. How are we going to deal with that? In healthy relationships, people are able to adapt and not just get stuck to one particular set of expectations. They're able to say, hey, things change. This is what we started out with. This is what we thought we were going to be doing, but we're going to have to shift. We're going to have to pivot and do things differently. So what will you do when, someone loses a job and you go from two incomes to one income? Or maybe before you were just one person was working and the other one was a stay-at-home parent. But now things have changed. That one working has lost their job. They're unable to find it. And now the stay-at-home parent is having to go to work. How are we going to deal with that? How are we going to renegotiate the handlings and the dealings of the house? Maybe before only one person was doing the housework, but now we have to change that because things have changed. It would no longer be fair to just have the one person doing it when they're also working now, or when they also have this, or let's say perhaps a new baby, just had a baby, or parents or siblings move into the house, or someone has fallen ill and they can no longer do the things that they used to do. Expectations are going to have to be renegotiated. Things are going to have to change. And when that doesn't happen, we don't have the willingness to change and do things differently, when we just expect, okay, this is how it is. These are the rules. That's not going to work. We're not going to change. You're really just crumbling away the foundation of your relationship because you're not able to move with the things that are coming up. And so we have here some of the patterns of rigidity. And I just have a source that showed the researchers who came up with this. But there are 4 different patterns of rigidity, meaning ways that people think that keep them very rigid and prevent them from being flexible in their thinking. So one is not being present. And what that means is when it comes to maybe a change that needs to happen or some type of decision that needs to be made, rather than thinking about, okay, what exactly is happening now and what would be most beneficial now, you get stuck in the past. And so you might say, oh, no, we can't do that because we tried it that one time and it didn't work. And so we're not going to try it again. It's never going to work. And so because something happened in the past, you feel like, well, it's always going to happen again in the present and the future. So we're not even going to consider it. That's a pattern of rigidity. We want to move away from that. Diminished connection to values. So this would be making decisions that are based specifically on just some set rules that we already have in place, but they may not necessarily align with our values. So for example, if your value is, I really value fairness in our relationship. I don't want anyone to feel like they're being treated unfair. I don't want to take advantage of you. I don't want you to take advantage of me. And that's a value that you have. Let's say circumstances change, again, with a job where maybe one person was working and now something happens and they can't work. And so now the other parent is having to go to work. Well, the rule perhaps before could have been that person who stays home does all of the cooking and all of the cleaning. And maybe that worked before because the other person was staying home. But now that person is out at work and now the other person is staying home. So it would be, if it's in line with our value of fairness, it would be more fair to be able to say, okay, let's switch that up. Maybe now I'm going to be the one that cooks and clean, or maybe we're going to split it this way, or maybe we're going to do this, or maybe we're going to do that. But rather than just sticking to that rule, this is the rule, this is what we're going to do, but saying, you know what, I know that that's the rule that we had, but given how things have changed and given our value system, it would only be right, it would only be fair if we switch things up. Now the next one, fusing with old storylines. So this is making decisions based on an idea that you have about yourself. So for example, if the idea that they have is that I am the breadwinner, I am the provider, I'm the one that works and makes the money. Let's say something like that, super stereotypical, but let's go with it. I am that. But let's say some type of circumstances change where that person who's always the breadwinner loses their job, and then the other person, let's say it's the wife, gets a job and is making like way more money than the other person was making. So now it would make sense that, okay, before she was staying home, but she's got this job, she's making all this money. It would really make the most sense for us to, at least for now, for me to stay home. I can take care of the kids, I can do these different things, and she can continue to do that. And then if we need to change it later, or if I get another job, we'll adjust it then. But to not be fused to that story of I'm the breadwinner, so it only has to be like this and we can't look at it any other way. That's just not going to be helpful. And the last one are attempts to control or avoid. So this will usually look like being manipulative or doing things that are controlling or avoiding, just to steer away from even having to have the type of conversation. So let's say if there's a discussion that needs to be had about, I don't know, having kids or something like that. So anytime the other partner brings it up, you just get upset, you make it a big deal, and you turn it on them, and you make it seem like you're always attacking me, or you just storm off, and before anything happens, you're gone off doing something else, and you didn't get anywhere in the conversation. The discussion wasn't even had because you took control of the situation and maneuvered away from it. So these are all patterns of rigidity that we want to move away from and that we don't want to have in our relationship. When we see them coming up, as much as we can, we want to say, oh, okay, I can recognize that this is a pattern, this isn't a good thing, and I need to make efforts to not do this. I'm checking my time. I know we don't have so much more time. Okay. So we're doing pretty good. So this is the end. This is the last thing. I just wanted to leave with an activity. So this is something that you can do in any type of relationship. You can do it in a marital relationship. You can do it with your kids, with your siblings, whatever. But it's called a temperature reading. And so basically, it's a way for you to kind of check in, for the two of you, or it can be a group, to check in and just kind of see, how are things going with us? How are things between us? Is there anything that needs to be addressed? And so there are these different topics that you can take turns talking about. And so the first one will be appreciation. So you will sit down, you will say, okay, we're going to do, you don't have to call it a temperature reading, but you can say, hey, we're going to do a temperature reading. We're going to see how things are between us. And so the first thing you would do is appreciation. So you would take turns to share what you appreciate about the other, and be specific and precise. So you don't want to just say, well, I just appreciate you, I just like you, I just love you. Like, no, that's not enough. I really appreciate the way when I get up in the morning, you already have that cup of coffee sitting on the table for me. I just really appreciate that, and it just makes me feel cared for. I really appreciate the way when you went to the store the other day, you called me and you said, hey, I'm at the store, do you need anything? Or whatever it is, but just taking turns to just talk about things that you really appreciate. That's the first one. The second one is new information. So just share the events in your life about what's going on, things that are happening that are affecting your mood, your feelings, your thoughts. And this is a way so that you keep each other clued in on what your life is looking like, what's happening. And so it could be simple stuff from, I came across a job entry on Indeed, and it looked good, so I applied for it. I don't know how it's going to go, but I'm just thinking maybe what I'm doing now is not really working, so I applied for that. Or, I got a doctor's appointment I got to go to tomorrow. I got this thing on my back, it's bothering, whatever it is. But you're just sharing what's going on with your life, and they can be the small little things, just like scheduling type details, or it could be, I've been feeling kind of down lately, been feeling kind of sad, feel like I need to spend more time with you, more time with myself, I need to spend more time working out, I don't know, whatever it is. But you're just sharing information. This is not really a time to get into complaints, but it's just sharing what's going on with your life, what's coming up for you, what's present for you right now. The next part would be questions. So we already talked about assumptions and how they're not helpful. They're very damaging. So are there any questions that I need to ask that will give me more information so that I don't assume things? So what assumptions are you making about your partner or other people in the group? And this is the moment to examine those assumptions. So for example, it could be something like, I know usually you take the kids to school in the morning, but lately you've been seeming kind of busy or like you don't have time. Is that still working for you? Like, would it be easier? Do you want maybe me to start taking the kids, or should we do like a off and on? You do one day, I do one day, rather than assuming like, well, he seems mad at me because he's having to take the kids and it's a problem. Let's not assume. Let's just check. Hey, is it still working for you, this agreement that we have? It might be better if we do something else. So what questions do you have? We bring those to the table. Then also complaints and recommendations for change. So this is a chance not to attack the person, not to say you this and that. That's not helpful. To describe any behavior that's causing you concern and then explain how it makes you feel, not think, how it makes you feel. And then say what you would like done differently. So it could be, when you come home from work in the evening and you go straight into your room and start watching TV, that makes me feel like you didn't miss me, and it makes me feel lonely. I would like it if when you came home from work, you spent at least 5 minutes in talking to me first, and then you can go do the other thing. So it's a way of saying that rather than saying, well, I think you come home because you don't even care about me and you don't like me and you just want to do this and all you care about. No, we don't want to go into that. We just want to say, hey, this is something that's happening that doesn't really work for me. I don't like it. This is how it's making me feel. And this is what I would like you to do differently. And then that opens conversation for discussion on, is there a change that's going to happen or not? And then the last one, hopes and wishes. So share the hopes and dreams that you have for yourself, for your partner, and for your relationship. And this could be something like, well, I want us to get closer. I want us to spend more time together. I want us to eat more dinners together. Or it could be something just personal like, you know what, I decided I want to go back to school. I want to go to school to be a doctor, an astronaut, cosmetology, whatever it is. But just the things that are hopeful for you and the things that make you smile, the things that you want to work toward. You want to be able to share this with other people so that they can support you in that, and they can see what you envision for yourself, and support you in that. So all of these, this temperature reading, is taken from a book that's called How to Stay Sane. It's by Philippa Perry. If anybody wants to learn more, read from her. She is a therapist. She's from somewhere in the UK. I don't know exactly, but I've read a lot of her books and I really like her. And so if anyone would be interested in reading more about this, that's the name of her book, and that is what it is from. So if there are any questions, so that is the end of the presentation part. And so if there are questions, I'd love to answer those.
I'm checking the comment section, Sister Nadirah. I don't see any as of yet, but there are lots of I love you, alhamdulillah, ameen, we love you, ameen. There's lots of very, very great positive comments, sister.
Okay. Well, excellent. That is great. That is good to hear.
So, well, there was a question. How may we contact you?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I have a website. It is called Healing Her Trauma. So I work predominantly, like I am a trauma and attachment therapist. So I work with families, individuals who are dealing with various traumatic things. I think my earring is making a sound. Dealing with various traumatic things that are affecting them. And so my website is healinghertrauma.com. And so you can find me on there. If you can, I have a little link where you can call me, you can schedule consultations, different things like that. I'm also on social media. I'm on Facebook, the same name, Healing Her Trauma. I'm on Instagram, Healing Her Trauma. I think those are the only two that I'm on. And so those are all easy ways to get in contact with me.
Okay, I'll give a few more minutes for any questions. But I just want to say, alhamdulillah, Sister Nadirah, for such valuable information. Not only did we receive just basic information on relationships, but it also included information on marital counseling, and we even received. I remember hearing a few mental health tips on dealing with forgiveness and stress mitigation. And in the time that we're in right now, having a few more tools in dealing with communication and stress is a big alhamdulillah. So thank you so very much again. I also picked up on the 5-to-1 ratio. I love that about it. And setting boundaries and clear expectations. So,
yeah, it's important. It's really important.
All right. And let me put that up. and there's a question. It's healing, and I'm going to put it on as a ticker. It's healing, HealingHurt.
Oh no, her like
Oh,
female.
okay.
HER. Healing
HER.
her trauma.
Okay. TRAUMA.com.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. And there's a question for Sister Latasha Cooper. You joined really late. Sister Latasha, you will be able to go back and view this presentation at the end on Facebook or YouTube at masjidwdm. And you'll be able to see all of the slides that were presented as well. This is a great tool to put in the toolbox, Sister Nadirah. Alhamdulillah.
And I can also email out that presentation. That way, if anybody wants to have a copy of it in their email to go over.
Okay. Let me edit this real quick. And correct?
Yep, that's correct.
Alhamdulillah. Check again. There's more comments. Brothers and sisters should discuss. Great, alhamdulillah. Shukran, our community needs this. Very explorative and insightful. Good presentation. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. So again, we thank you, Sister Nadirah, for your presentation on Al-Mizan, our fourth Sunday Taleem, which is, we have a sister that presents, and I might say you've done an excellent job. Alhamdulillah. May Allah continue to reward you.
Ameen. Thank you. I'm glad it was received well.
Alhamdulillah. So we ask that everyone please stay tuned for our community announcements. And again, you may reach Sister Nadirah Habeebullah at www.healinghertrauma, and that's HER. And again, you can reach her on Facebook under her name, Nadirah Habeebullah.
Oh no, it's Healing Her Trauma.
I'm sorry, Healing Her Trauma. My apologies. Healing Her Trauma on those platforms. All right, and thank you again, sister. And we will now go to our community announcements. Thank you again. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Please continue to join us virtually every Friday for our Juma Kupa at 1:30 p.m. on Central Standard Time on Facebook and YouTube at masjidwdm and on Facebook at MCC Masjid Al-Quran. Our Taleem and public address is held every Sunday at 1:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, again live streamed on the platforms shown on your screen. Your zakat and donations are graciously needed, especially to present the different programs that we're able to bring to you. Ways to donate are at our website, masjidwdmuhammad.com, paypal.me@masjidwdm, and cashApp $masjidwdm. Your donations and zakat are also needed at mercycc.org/donation on behalf of Mercy Community Center and Masjid Al-Quran. Our New Muslim orientation is every Sunday at 3 p.m., led by Imam Elijah Salahuddin. To join, go to tiny.cc/New Muslim class. The N, the M, and the C must be capitalized. Our Sisters Halakha is held every second and fourth Saturday from 7:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. This is a sisters-only event. To gain access, email salimacogbill@gmail.com. Our fundraising efforts continue toward Imam Ibrahim Kamaluddin Community Center. Your donation will allow you to have your or your loved one's beautiful, have one of Allah's beautiful names displayed in our community center upon completion. Please donate at the link shown on your screen. Our Brothers Meeting is held every third Saturday from 7 a.m. until 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, and this is a Brothers Only event. To join, go to tinyurl.com/WDM Brothers. Al Farouk Media Productions, no longer coming soon, it is now available. The commentary on selected verses of the Holy Quran documented from the teachings of Imam W.D. Muhammad. Please contact Imam Eugene Farouk at the link and the number shown. The Islamic Learning Institute is happening now. Please go to www.islamicli.org or 813-531-4432. Camp Khalil is one of our premier leadership and youth development institutions, founded in 2003 by Brother Hanif and Sister Baina Khalil. It has started today. The topic is True Spark Entrepreneurial Academy for young bosses ages 14 and up. It's a 5-week course. Slots are still available. To register and for more information, please visit KHALILTXTRUE.com. That's Khalil, KHALILTX true.com. The first class ended today, and there are 4 more sessions to go. Again, we pray that everyone remains healthy and safe. We thank you for joining us as always. We greet you. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you.